What's going on, you guys? So, promoters in boxing, you hear things. You start to hear things once you really get deep into the boxing shit. You know, you start getting connections with people that know people. You know, you start getting these sources and things of that nature. And when it comes to boxing today, you got to ask yourself certain questions. You know, maybe it is just me. You know, maybe I'm just a curious person, but I question what are the intentions of some of these promoters in boxing. Now, Bob Arum been around for like 1,000 years. We know he put up some of the best fights in boxing, but other times you question why did he not make that fight? You know, like the Lomachenko-Devin Haney fight. You know, is it because of the fact that Devin Haney didn't sign with you? You know, you have some personal vendetta. And then you got guys like Eddie Hearn, who's pretty much the new kid on the block per se. Came out on the fast track. You know, had a star in Anthony Joshua. You know, he was really promoting him and pushing his brand. But the thing with Eddie Hearn, he's out here lying. You know, he was lying in the public, getting caught up in lies. He seemed to have kind of toned a lot of that down now, but a couple of years ago, back around the Wilder AJ saga, back when that was really, you know, at its peak, Eddie Hearn was really out here just making himself look crazy as hell. You know, just like, I was like, Eddie Hearn was really just getting on my damn nerves because he was lying. You know what I'm saying? And then you got Oscar De La Hoya, who, let's just be honest, he lucky he has Ryan Garcia because all he had was Canelo Alvarez. You know, and, you know, you hear rumors that Canelo was looking to kind of branch off from Golden Boy and start his own thing. And, you know, they was able to sign Ryan Garcia to a lucrative deal. And it seemed like they have a baby cash cow in Ryan Garcia in the near future. But Oscar De La Hoya been sending out offers to fighters and, you know, saying that he's about legacy. The thing about Oscar De La Hoya that's different from any of these other guys is Oscar De La Hoya was a real fighter. You know what I'm saying? And if, to his credit, he fought a lot of the best fighters, you know? So he, at heart, you could tell that maybe, you just never know. But you can only just go off of what you know. And Oscar De La Hoya, for what it's worth, despite how you feel Canelo's moving, he was a real fighter. You know what I'm saying? He ain't really duck no smoke. He fought the tough styles, the slick styles. So he's a boxing guy. He understands boxing. You know, but this thing with Canelo Alvarez, you know, the bad judging and things of that nature, and, you know, you hear about him sending these offers to these guys, but you don't really know why. I don't know. Oscar De La Hoya, to me, he's just kind of trailing everybody else right now. You know, he's just kind of trailing everybody else right now. He's hanging on just because off the fact that he has Canelo Alvarez and Ryan Garcia. And then we have the big one. Mr. Al Haymon. You know, Al Haymon is somewhat of an enigma in the boxing world. You know, you hear fighters speak of him. You know, you hear other guys speak of him. Yeah, I spoke to Al Haymon. Yeah, I met Al Haymon. You hear fighters that's under his banner say these things. You know, so it's like, man, who is this guy? Who is Al Haymon? Al Haymon is leading the pack right now in the sport of boxing. He has the most fighters. He has a lot of things going on that's in his favor right now in the sport of boxing. And he's he's been around before Eddie Hearn. So it was Bob Arum, De La Hoya, Al Haymon, then Eddie Hearn. And Al Haymon is leading the pack right now, you know. And the way things are set up with Al Haymon, he has a lot of control, a lot of power. You know, he has a lot of control. He found a way to be able to manage and promote these fighters at the same time. He found a loophole in the system to where he could have pretty much total control of these guys' careers But on the other end, they get 15% more of their money. But they have to give up a lot more control. So that's why you hear these fighters say, call Al, call Al. Now, it may seem like it's something to where it's like, it depends on the fighter. Certain guys he may let go over somewhere else and get a big fight because that fighter may not be able to make money, that kind of money with what he's got going on. The Andy Ruizes, the Derevyanchenko's, he'll let those guys, run off. He let the John Molina go off. He let the guy Crawford fought, Diaz. He let him go over, but other guys like the Errol Spence, the Sean Porter, guys like that, they necessarily can't move. But the thing is, a lot of those guys, they talk a lot. They talk a lot in public. They say they can do this, they're their own boss. Those type of things stick, especially when you constantly hear these guys say it. So it kind of sticks. And guys like myself, who holds these fighters to a certain standard. Now, but who am I? I'm just a motherfucker on YouTube. But I'm just saying, I hold them to a certain standard because I respect the fighters, I respect the sport, I respect the fight game in general. So I hold these guys to a certain standard. If you're a world champion, I expect you to kind of move like one, especially when you're out here talking. You know what I'm saying? So when you out here talking, and then these other fighters that's maybe on the other side of the street, quote unquote, I really hate Errol Spence brought that into the universe, but I guess it's a thing now. I say it all the time. When these dudes on the other side of the street, want to fight you, and you got these other promoters like the Eddie Hearns, the Oscar De La Hoyas, the Bob Arums, sending these offers over. And then you got guys, once they finally get these offers, they say, oh, well, call Al. They really mean that shit. They literally mean call Al. You know what I'm saying? Because they can't do anything without Al Heyman's permission. So you got to question yourself. You got to ask yourself, is Al Heyman really good for boxing? You know what I'm saying? You hear a lot of good things about Al Heyman. You hear nothing but good things about Al Heyman, especially from his fighters. He seems to take really good care of these guys behind the scenes and things of that nature. You hear things about Eddie Hearn. What we know about Eddie Hearn, what I know about Eddie Hearn, he seems to take care of his fighters. He does seem to take care of his fighters, but he has thrown some fighters under the bus in the past. You know what I'm saying? He threw Ohari Davies under the bus. He threw Jarrell Big Miller under the bus. Now, the thing with Jarrell Miller, it may have been a situation to where you really fucked me, dude. You know what I'm saying? We had this big fight going in New York. You know what I'm saying? That's your home state, everything. You know what I'm saying? We had everything going and you fucked it up. So that's probably what Eddie Hearn, that's probably why he's feeling like that. Because you fucked me, dude. You know what I'm saying? Put all this money together to get this fight going for the zone. They already on my ass because they was trying to get a return on all this money they didn't gave me and you out here fucking. So that's probably what that is. But he threw Ohari Davies right under the bus. You know what I'm saying? Bob Arum, the thing with him is his contracts. You know what I'm saying? His contracts are fucking just rigged. Like I think his contracts is set up to where if you a champion, you can't. I forgot what it was, man. It's something crazy as hell, though. It's something crazy, man. I can't remember exactly right now on top of my head. I can't remember exactly what it was. I don't want to just say some shit. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something crazy as hell. And, you hear Oscar De La Hoya, he kind of shysted Ryan Garcia. Remember that little spat he had with Ryan? Then that little problem he had with Canelo. With Canelo, hearing about things that Oscar and his other guys are doing behind the scenes without his permission. So, you hear a lot of things, but you never hear anything bad about Al Heyman. You may have heard that one thing about Vanez Martirosyan, but Vanez, soon after that, once Vanez Martirosyan seen it was nothing but a barren wasteland for him, then he calls Al Heyman writing letters apologizing. You know what I'm saying? So Al Heyman, for what it's worth, is very good for the fighters. If I had a kid that boxed, my nephew, my little cousin, or whatever, I'll tell him to go with Al, because I know he's going to take care of him. You know what I'm saying? But then again, you also got to question, why is guys like Gary Russell Jr. being left out? You know what I'm saying? You got to ask yourself that question when it comes to Al Heyman. There's a lot of other questions you could ask that may seem like taboo, but you got to ask these questions. What are your intentions, Al Heyman? What are your intentions for the sport of boxing? You know what I'm saying? We don't really know you. We don't see you. You know, all these other promoters, the Bob Arams, the De La Hoyas, the Frank Warrens, the Eddie Hearns, these guys, whenever they fuck up, and they have fucked up a lot, they got to take it on the chin. They got to answer to it in the public and the media. They got to answer to a lot of shit, especially Eddie Hearn when he was out here lying and shit, doing all that bullshit. He took all his licks on the chin. Came out here in America talking about he's going to take over, and all his fighters coming out here getting their asses kicked and popping hide, and he's just looking real bad. And he took all his shots on the chin, and he's still here. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of got to respect that. You know what I'm saying? He didn't tuck tail and run back to the UK. He's still here. You know what I'm saying? So I just say this: Eddie Hearn ain't going nowhere. You know. But Al Heyman, we don't know what's his intentions. You hear things, you know, it seemed like he's telling these guys to turn down these fights. Deontay Wilder, $100 million, bro? How you let this man turn down $100 million? How you let that happen? A guy like Wilder, who has the equalizer in any fight, on any given night, he can knock you out at any time, and you told him to turn that down, and just for simply 3 fights, bro? I mean, I understand a lot of dudes, it's like, yeah, Wilder did the right thing, but I just can't sit here as they say that he did the $100 million minimum, and you just didn't want it because of what AJ was getting. Who told you to turn that down, bro? Who's telling Jamal Charlo to turn down the Canelo Alvarez? You know what I'm saying? These are career highs. Now, it's the same situation with Eddie Hearn. You know what I'm saying? His fighters are turning down these fights with Canelo Alvarez. I really wonder what the number is. You know what I'm saying? What's really, is there some type of stipulation, rehydration? Because the fact that Callum Smith is a big guy. You know what I'm saying? They probably not really having that. They want a fair fight or something. It could be something like that. I heard negotiation is ongoing. But with Al Heyman, you really just don't know. You know what I'm saying? You just hear stories. And Al Heyman, he's really a music guy. You know what I'm saying? He's a music guy. Even though his brother, Bobby Heyman, boxed, Al Heyman is mostly a music guy. And then you got all these guys like Tim Smith and all these other dudes like, who the fuck are these people? These guys don't know shit about boxing. You know what I'm saying? Like, who is these dudes? Because you want to know how a lot of these dudes in the suits and shit, and this is why it's a problem for boxing. A lot of these dudes in the suits, and I'm not saying Bob, Al, or Eddie, or Oscar. Those guys are clearly boxing guys. Maybe Al Heyman is probably the least boxing guy out of all the of them. I'm saying Eddie Hearn's a boxing guy because his father's a boxing promoter, and you know he pretty much grew up around it. You know what I'm saying? But Barry Hearn himself said that he don't know shit about boxing. He knows numbers. He knows the business. You know what I'm saying? So you got all these other guys, and they don't necessarily know anything about boxing, but they know numbers in the business of boxing. And that could be a bad thing for boxing. Because their interest ain't for the best if you fight the best. It's business. You know what I'm saying? So it's a problem. It turns out to be a problem when us fans sit here arguing amongst each other, we fighting amongst each other over some shit that really should be happening anyway. UFC fans don't really got to fight amongst each other over certain fights not happening shit. Why the fight ain't happening? They don't got to argue about these type of things. But us boxing fans do. And I feel kind of bad because like I said, I'm a passionate fan. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I respect all fighters. I trained and fought before too, so I know what it is. You know what I'm saying? But when you look at the way the boxing landscape is today, it's really a popularity contest. You know what I'm saying? And you got a lot of guys that, you know, we arguing amongst each other over some stupid shit in a sport where the best should be competing against the best. We shouldn't even be arguing who's ducking who and why this dude ain't fighting this person and who a promoter is holding the fight back. What the fuck is going on, man? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. You know, that's just me rambling now, but I'm just saying, man, what's really going on with boxing? Is Al Heyman really good for boxing? We already know about Bob and Eddie and Oscar De La Hoya. We know what those guys are. You know what I'm saying? They be out in the public doing interviews. They be fucking up and contradicting themselves all the time. They be having to answer for the shit. I said, but Al Heyman, we don't know nothing about him. For all we know, Sam Watson could really be Al Heyman. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know. But you got to kind of admire the way Al Heyman moves. You got to admire it. He's moving like a real boss. He really is. This dude is a boss with a lot of power. So you got to respect it. You got to respect his business hustle. He's a master businessman. I think him and Bob are both like Harvard dudes. So you got to respect that. But is his intentions really the best for boxing? You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I feel that Oscar De La Hoya, at heart, he wants the best fights to be made in boxing. I really do feel that with him. Eddie Hearn, he seems to be out there trying to make things happen. You know what I'm saying? Because we see these guys. Bob Arum, somewhat the same thing. Sometimes he be bullshitting. Like with the Devin Haney-Lomachenko thing, he be bullshitting. But other times when he probably feel really confident in a fighter, like Lomachenko, well, not even Lomachenko all the time now, but Terrence Crawford, he seems to be very confident that Terrence Crawford can beat anybody, then he's going to make some shit happen. You know what I'm saying? But Bob Arum, he's a really, he seems like he's really tight with his, he don't feel like, he ain't going to throw the bag on the table like Eddie Hearn will. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think Oscar De La Hoya has too much to work with. And with PBC on that tip, it's a hit or miss. You know what I'm saying? The fighters never complain. They never complain. But when these big offers come their way from other guys to make something happen, to come over and just come on our show and make something, unify and whatnot, they say call Al and this shit never happens. And these are really big fights we missing out on. But tell me what you guys think. Like, subscribe, holla at your boy. Peace out.